Okay, welcome back to the seventh episode of my Minecraft Showcase series. This is indeed episode 7, and today we will be reviewing a couple of things, a couple of new additions in the industrial district, which I've been doing for the past week. So let's jump right into it. Now, if you remember, all of this was also shown in a previous episode, and most of this was empty, so I decided to light it up and populate it with trees so it looks a bit more interesting, and also decided to populate the entire area surrounding this ground farm, which is now fully complete, with some terraforming and a lot more planted trees. My initial idea for this was to create this large empty perimeter that would have nothing in it, but because that's a project that takes a lot of time, naturally I did not finish it, and so I opted in for doing a full terraforming, bring it back to its roots kind of thing to make it look pretty once again. As you can see, I still need to plant some trees here. I just didn't because planting trees, even creative, and lighting terrain up is not exactly the most, how could I say this, entertaining task. But I did finish the Guardian farm if I can turn off Gamma to make it look a bit prettier. Oh yeah. These black monoliths are actually water tanks with falling water built in the river biome, which spawns fish, of course, squids, but it also spawns hostile mobs known as the drowned. A bit of a tongue twister there. Talking about water and drowning for me is always a sensitive topic, but this was incredibly grindy to do, even in creative. If we go back with the gamma effect, let's see. It's gamma radiation. Okay, now we can see more clearly. I had to create these. Let's see if we can do something a bit cheaty here, but is it cheaty though if we're playing creative? I don't think so. So let's open to LAN and let's go to creative, allow sheets, and start a LAN world. There's probably a more streamlined way of doing this. I just don't know it, so I'm doing it this way. And now we can switch between modes, and I want to go into spectator mode so I can get in and phase through walls. So I had to create these streams that will eventually, like the drowned will spawn in these tanks, drop through these open fence gates, which retain water, but they are able to pass entities through, uh, kind of like those semi-porous membranes you probably heard about in biology class. And so they fall down here. We have an excellent example here. Unfortunately, there's nobody to push him. Um, Usually, sometimes there are other mobs here, other drowned, that push this first mob, and then he goes into this bubble vader all the way up here. And then I did some stream shenanigans with water to ensure that all the mobs that come up this bubble vader go through this channel and into the drop chute below us. And I did it for like all the rest of the tubes. There are 3 containers, so it's 3 tubes. It's kind of neat playing with water streams like this. Reminds me of old school Minecraft. They drop down this chute into this one hit kill chamber, and the chamber actually has phased mine carts with hoppers that can suck items out, and the items go into this dispenser. As long as there's something in the dispenser, gets shot out and goes into the sorting system. I made it transparent on purpose so we can always see items flying around the place. Makes the whole build look a bit more animated. Um, and this is just the standard sorting system. I'm pretty happy with the build. It took me 3 years to finish it. As you can see there, there's a drowned that has dropped into the drop chute. Um, I still need to do some tree planting here to make it look a bit more integrated into the environment, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and I'm happy that I got to finish it after all these years. Um, so that's the last farm that we'll be reviewing in this industrial district. And for sure, there will be more in the future, but we'll cover that in some future episodes. And as you can see, I started planning out these lakes, or maybe like the beginnings of a river that would be having it would have the part of like bringing the player from these secluded areas that are kind of divided from the wilderness by this wall, but we could kind of get some kind of a boat line to go through this river, and then the first lake, then it cascades, second, third lake, then some more river, fourth lake, and then it goes down here, and there would be some kind of a station, and maybe I could integrate it into this um, chest collection area that I built first when I got here 3 years ago. And that's mostly it. As you can see, I planted a lot of trees, acacia, because I think acacia and the plains biome go hand in hand, and as the grass turns a bit more green, then I start planting birch and oak trees. And here in the distance, we have another terraforming project that I've started. If you remember from one of the previous episodes, this was all flooded with water. I've decided to get rid of the water and contain it to this artificial lake that is still pretty much a work in progress. But as you can see, there's some kind of a general shape. Kind of reminds me of a topographical map of Australia. Um, but we'll see where that's going to lead us because as you can see, this is a pretty large area to terraform. And this is usually how I do my terraforming. I kind of try to find the old contours of the original terrain, and then I create these primitive, very generalized shapes and connect them, and then I, do some fine tuning, create curves, create those 3D splines to make it look as naturally generated as possible, which for someone that's not as experienced in terraforming like me, it's not as a nice transition as it would be with some more experienced players, but you work with what you got. So let's go back to the central area. And there's still a lot of space in here, as you can see. This whole thing, and then space in the middle, and all of this. I've done some work on this wall to make it a bit more protected against the outside, and also got rid of the moat with the water and the magma blocks. It just did not fit well, and I realized my answer lies in just making this wall a little bit bigger. And of course, I'll do some detail work in the future to make it look as beautiful as possible. I did do kind of finish this little tunnel built here with some red blocks because I really like the contrast between brown and red tones. I think it really gives a special flair to builds, and of course used some red terracotta. And I'm pretty okay with how it turned out, considering it was a dirt and stone tunnel for the past couple of years. It's very nice to see your projects come to an end, especially when talking about this world. And in the last episode, I think I mentioned that we'll be reviewing some of the kind of like the abandoned projects or maybe like the forgotten projects that I did. And the first one lies where this beacon lies. So let's go downstairs. This here is I think if we turn on slime chunks, as you can see, there are some slime chunks here. There's a potential to create a slime farm that goes and spans like over one, two, three, four, five chunks all at once. That's kind of an idea, but I also started this idea of making this underground room as a kind of I don't know how to correctly pronounce it. I think it's a French word, homage or homage. I'm not sure, but it's kind of like a, a dedicated build for the server I was on many years ago. I made this beautiful cave filled with farms and then decorated with red and normal terracotta blocks. I made this custom-made river with a tiny biome in it and a Minecraft minecart track. And I think I wanted to do it here, but I had forgotten that I had actually started building the replica of that build somewhere else, somewhere closer to spawn. So I am not sure what I will do with this empty space in the future. It may get used, it may not get used. But you know, we'll see about that. So let's go up, 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 up. And that really concludes this industrial district. I feel like there's not much I can say about it at this point. What we can do is go back to the old part of the world. We'll just take the longer path so we can show off our beautiful builds one more time. And I'll just try and do it a bit more slower. Maybe do some of those cinematic transitions like wee. Huh? That's pretty cool. Um, so if we could find our way to another portal, that would be neat. And because I can't do it in spectator, I gotta go back to creative mode. Kablam, kablamo. Okay, let's go through this nether tunnel of mine and let's visit the old part of the world once more. It's kind of like chronologically not quite right, but it's also is quite right because I did a lot of back and forth between the new parts of the world and the old ones. So yeah. So this part of the world is something that I'll kind of cover in the next episode. It's the end, and it will also probably be the end of this showcase series. There's not much there, just some future projects and some things that I did. And okay, let's uh let's leave that for the next time, right? So we are back in the original spawn area, and let's first cover that underground recreation area from that multiplayer server that I started digging this giant hole there, but I actually forgot or re-remembered. Let's make this a bit speedier. We also have some kind of a, I don't know, this kind of looks like a topographical map of um, maybe it's Africa. But this is something I've talked about in like episode 2. This is the witch farm perimeter. But right besides it is this beautiful uh island that kind of looks like a boat from this perspective, actually. Might make it into kind of like a topographical map of boat. And this is actually the perfect place to recreate that base from that multiplayer server. I think I'll include it in the thumbnail just so you guys have a better uh, image of what I'm talking about. So if we go down here, you can actually see there's quite a bit of infrastructure. I've already started building the outlines of the slime farm, which is, I totally forgot I built all this until I visited it today while I was looking through my world in Spectator. Like a lot of it is already dug out, so I'll probably just, build that old base here just so I have a nice memory of it. But of course, there's a lot of work here, but not as much as there is in the that underground area I showed you like 5 minutes ago. So that is one of the forgotten but not gone builds. I actually did all of this underwater part. It's very similar to how I started that base on that server many years ago. So those are the gone but not forgotten projects. And let's go back if I don't get lost, because this is really big. And this is really fast because Spectator has all the magic and wonders of, well, speed. So let's switch back to creative. Makes me feel more at home and I can see a part of my skin. And actually my skin is something we haven't talked about. This skin was me reverse engineering um, this image of a sad onion that I found on the internet when I first joined Discord. I wanted to have an avatar that I liked, and I found this stuffed onion prince from Final Fantasy. Now, I never played Final Fantasy, but I really liked that image, and I've used it ever since as my Discord avatar. And when it came to creating my Minecraft skin, I used one of those online tools, and the first iteration was very old school Minecrafty, a lot more pixelated than it is right now. And then in the future, I made it more streamlined, kind of sleek and modern for these, well, modern times. And based the, let's see if I can do something interesting here or not. This is very strange. Okay, so I based the pixel design of the head uh from the pumpkin which you can see the jack-o'-lantern pumpkins on the floor there. So I best based the head of it on the pumpkin, and the rest I used color picker from any paint tool to get the appropriate colors for the little guy. Uh, and yeah, that's how I made it. And I really like those earthy tones, the oranges and the browns. It's kind of puts me at peace, you know. Green is a nice color, but there's just something about brown and I don't know if you've ever been in a field during summer, but if you take some warm soil with your hands and you feel that warmth emanating from the depths of the earth, it's one of the most beautiful feelings. And if you ever, had like freshly picked potatoes in your hands, like that earthy scent, the smell to them is one of the most beautiful things you'll ever smell. Um, so let's go down this elevator, if we can call it an elevator, and let's visit the well, I think it's the last build that we'll be visiting in this episode. Just keeping it short, and I will break this. So I've been in front of this portal maybe like 2 times, and this was the original villager trading hall area, the 70,000 blocks I mined in survival, which took me copious amounts of time. And it wasn't until recently that I created what I wanted to create with it was a giant nether room, nether, it's that hellish dimension, and I wanted to create some kind of a version of it in the overworld. And it was really difficult back in the day because I just didn't know how to pull off something as big as that, while also, being in respect of my original idea, but also the boundaries of Minecraft, because Minecraft is infinitely capable of creating these 3D designs is sometimes limited because you can't capture an idea made by the human mind as easily as you'd think. So in the past few weeks, I came up with this design and I really like it, and I turned the whole thing into kind of like a brewing station area. So let's look at it. Okay, so this is we're viewing this with gamma on, I believe. So like all the details are here. But as you can see, the floor is, all of it is spawn proofed because there are a lot of slime chunks here, and slimes, when they spawn, they kind of create a ruckus, and we don't want that. So all the places where the slimes can spawn have been either spawn proofed with wither roses, which inflict damage on any mob that goes over them, including the player. And everything that's not a slime chunk is these nether warts, which are used for crafting potions. And there's a fair number of these nether warts, so we don't have to worry about reduction. But let's turn on the slime chunk preview. As you can see, lots of slime chunks here, so I have to be kind of careful about the design and the placement of certain blocks. And I kind of built this, found this as let's see, this is a design by Impulse SV, an older design as well, but it still works. And the only thing that these modules need to be is primed, or like you do something with the circuitry redstone inside of it so that the next time you use it, it's already ready. There's already potions that are pre-crafted. I haven't done that yet because I think that's something that I'll do when I switch back to survival. And I kind of made it themed, like, I don't know, I just tried to like when I eventually do choose which potions will be crafted, I'll kind of make it in theme with these I guess you could call them color codes in a way. We have the gold infused netherrack, we have the red glazed terracotta, the netherite magma blocks, and this is the gold infused blackstone. I think it's called gilded blackstone. And finally, this is, let's see, crying obsidian. And kind of went for this cathedral-like um, experience to it. When you go in, it's like this grand, giant hall, and that's because it really is grand and giant. This was a massive project, even in creative. Like the way I do creative, I don't use commands to spawn in a bunch of blocks or change blocks for blocks. I choose a block palette and then I place each and every one of these blocks by hand, and that still takes a lot of time. So it's essentially like playing survival with a bunch of resources. So I don't go too crazy with creative. And I try to make, use uh, depth as a kind of, I guess, a design element, because I was all about using kind of old school Minecraft detailing back in the day where stairs were not exactly available, and, just experimenting with depth. And then at the top of this, we have the kind of like the build that I always dreamed of was a portal between the nether, the hell, the fire, and the ocean, a much calmer environment. Well, depends on how you look at it. And let's turn off gamma um, to see how this place looks like without any artificial lighting. And as you enter here, this is truly dark and ominous, and it makes the player feel small. It makes anyone who enters this giant chamber feel small. I certainly feel small on my 15.6-inch laptop, and I'm sure somebody with a bigger screen would also feel small because this thing is enormous. And if you look at it from this perspective, it kind of looks like eyes. And if we switch to spectator mode and go up, it kind of looks cool, not gonna lie. It kind of looks like eyes of some giant demon whose gaze is so strong he's actually pierced uh the space between dimensions of hell into the overworld. Maybe I'll make some kind of an evil grin face here to accompany these hollow eyes. And that demon and his gaze bring us to the end of this episode. I hope you liked it. In the next one, we will be finishing this series because, well, there's not much for me to show you anymore. And, but you know, it's not the end. I still have a bonus episode in plan for the creative test world that I've also had as long as I had this survival slash creative world. So we'll be visiting that in the future as well. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this time, and we'll see you in the next one.